I'm starting to think that the major scale is more of a product of nature than of man. A few years ago, I was giving a guitar lesson to an adult beginner, and I was showing her how to play the G major scale. Then I went on a long tangent on why it was really important if you want to play music to know the G major scale. Then she asked, why? And I was like, why what? She asked, why those notes in that order? I answered her in sort of a word salad that had something to do with Bach thought it was a good idea, so we all decided to just go along with it. But really, I was making up that answer. It's a little embarrassing when you look back on it. The truth is I didn't know. I had never asked that question myself. When I went to Cal State Fullerton, my professors never told me, maybe because I never asked. At any rate, it was one of those political, that's a really good question situations. It sometimes takes the perspective of someone outside your domain of competence to show you where you need to shore up your own understanding. I really didn't find out the answer until recently, when I read Arnold Schoenberg's Theory of Harmony. It's a fantastic book. In chapter 4, he actually outlines why we have a major scale and what it has to do with nature itself. The Overtone Series is a naturally occurring phenomenon in music. When you play a fundamental tone, other tones are along for the ride, and they follow the order of intervals that we discussed in the last lesson. For instance, when I play the fundamental tone C at half the length of the string, I get the octave C above. The next one is found on the 7th fret, a third the length of the string, where I would get the G above the C. The next one would be on the 5th fret. That gives me a C above the previous G. The next one would be found at the 4th fret. And these are the first 4 overtones above the fundamental C. So those notes are C, C, G, C, and E. There are more overtones, but we'll stop there. Now, if you know how to spell a chord, you know that that actually spells a C major triad. C, C, G, C, E. So what that means is when you play any note, you get a major triad along for the ride. By the way, this is interesting. Since these are all fractions of the string, I can go the other way too. Try it out yourself. Okay, all of this is interesting, but it still doesn't explain why we get a major scale. Let's remember from the last lesson that the first true dyad is the 5th above the fundamental tone. C's 5th is G. So we should consider the G to be dominant. We actually call it the dominant tone above the fundamental. Let's repeat this process starting from G. Will be an octave below because I don't have that many strings. So if I do the same process of the overtone series, 4 overtones above the fundamental, I would get the notes G, G an octave above, D, G, and B. But wait, there's more. Remember how 4ths are 5ths and 5ths are 4ths? We should also consider the 5th below C to be a note we should do the overtone series process with. So if I start from an F, I tune my D string on my bass to F for this example. I would have the notes F, F, C, F, and A. Combined with the fundamental note C, the dominant above, and the subdominant below, I'd get and I would have to somehow think of a scale that used all those notes together. And there we have it. That's your major scale. These tones pull towards each other. G wants to go to the C, as C wants to go to F. This is a snapshot of the tonal relationship surrounding a harmonic gravitational center known as C. If you add up the first 4 overtones of the pitches C, G, and F, you would get a collection like this: CEG, GBD, FAC. Add up these tones and then put them in order from C to the nearest octave, C. That's our major scale. That's why so many songs are only 3 chords. You can harmonize any diatonic tone in the major scale with only 3 chords. Why? We just explained it. All that you are using are the chord tones belonging to the tonic, dominant, and subdominant chords. Move the tonal center to G, and you have to account for the dominant of G, which would be D. The D note has the 4th overtone of F sharp, so therefore you would have to add an F sharp to the equation for the key of G major. Move the tonal center to F. F has a subdominant tone, B flat, so you would have to add B flat to the equation to yield an F major scale. So there you have it. The next time a student asks, why these notes in this order, I will have an answer for them, or at least a YouTube link. Thanks for watching. In the next lesson we dive into triads and Taoism, so that should get weird. Thanks, and be safe.